Hello there. I wanted to show you that I got my Thunder Laser Nova 51 successfully into my basement. And I realized in the planning process that there wasn't a lot of good instruction out there for this particular process. There was some videos out there that kind of fit what I needed to do, but nothing in real detail. So I did take the time when we were, going through this process to get it in here to film as much as I could. I don't do a lot of videos at all, but I wanted to share this out because I felt, if other people are going to go through what I went through, maybe some of what I've learned will help you. So I'll walk you through the process as much as I can. Okay, folks, I'm going to start right here. I have a Nova 51 in my garage I just got. My goal is to get it down these steps and into my basement. So let me show you my route. Get this all cleaned up, get all this moss off here, dry this up, but it's January. So we're gonna have to get down these steps. Show you another angle. I'm gonna take that railing off. I've measured everything, but you can't ever be sure. I gotta get it clear around here. And what I did was, I spent $21.38 at Lowe's, and I built a mock-up frame to the exact dimensions of the laser itself. So the big thing for me is it gonna fit in my basement? I did some pre-measurements, but if you go through a door, that's one thing. You measure the door, you measure it, you slide it through, it's gonna fit. But when you're going into a basement, you have other factors. You have angles going down, you have it going out onto the floor, you have the height of the door, you have a lot of obstacles. So, what I did is I took the time to build a mock frame out of wood to the exact dimensions minus the base. I included the light in my dimensions just to see, worst case scenario, I could have removed the light. I didn't have to. So you'll see in the video the mock frame, and it was good because, I was able to actually take it and know that it was gonna fit down in my basement. But it was also good the day when people arrived because I had them all go through a mock kind of a training to, carry it over, how we're gonna set it down, how we're gonna slide it in, and just get them familiar with it as well, which really helped. So, it's worth the $20, $22 or whatever you would spend for the wood. You could use something else. You could use plywood, or not plywood, you could use cardboard or something cheaper, but I'm telling you, if you're gonna go into a basement, you wanna go through the effort. Time-wise, 2 hours tops to build the whole frame, measure it, make sure everything was good. So, you'll see in the video us trying it out, but definitely want to consider doing that. I think that was probably one of the key things for me, just to make sure I got it in. Now, had I gotten the model bigger, you'll see from the recording that I would have never got it in my basement. It would not have fit. Now, for me, you want to build that ahead of time before you even place your order. I waited until it got here just because I was either going to put it in my garage or in my basement. Basement was, my goal. Garage was nice to have, but, that's something you're going to want to do before you even place that order. Make sure it's going to fit where you want it if you're limited to where it can go. Okay, folks, today is the day we're going to move it into the basement. I removed everything I could. Just for precautions, I went through a whole roll of duct tape. I covered all the glass with foam board. Put some padding around the lights, some duct tape on the edges. This is the side it's gonna lay down as it goes down into the steps, so I protected that as much as I can. Again, I have my frame here. We're gonna do a dry run with this. I've already tested it, it fits fine, but when the guys get here, we're gonna do that as well, so stay tuned. All right, here we go, test run. Okay, so set it down on there. Set it like this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide it straight out. Keep going, don't lean it yet.
Yeah.
We want to try and get it out as far as we can. And then let her down. It should slide right down there. Okay, it's tight, but it fits. You know, getting it from the garage over to the back of the house, it actually wasn't really a big deal. I think we had 7 guys on it at that point. Really no issues, really nothing to call out. You know, it's really just making sure everybody's situated, you know, just carry it around there. I think the biggest thing is when you get it over there, have a place to set it. So then I started thinking about, okay, so we're gonna carry it from the garage, we're gonna bring it around through the yard. We need a place to set it down. And I also need to place a staging area to get it really set up to get down the steps. So what I did was I took 4 deck boards that I had, I'm working on my deck, and I just laid 4 of them down. I put a rug on top of them, you'll see. And then that's where we're gonna get it down the steps. And then I started to think about, okay, it's muddy out. We're gonna carry it over in this position here, and we're gonna need a place to set it down before we stand it up. So I put 2 boards right next to it to keep it up out of the mud. And you'll see we basically brought it around. We were able to set it right on those boards. It gave us a way to kind of regroup and, you know, coordinate everything prior. So you want to have a place to rest it before you get ready for the next step of actually getting it down the steps. Okay, so one of the big mistakes I made was around the toe strap and carrying the laser over is, so we had it all planned out and we brought it around and we set it down on the boards, and I'm like, hey guys, we got to turn it around. We got to turn it around.
Turn it around?
Sorry?
We got to turn it around.
I thought you wanted this end down.
Well, we need the other side for the winch.
Oh, so we need to spin it.
Yeah, this side's going to go down, but that end needs to be over here.
So you're gonna put the wood over there then?
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, tell me the move that's happening.
It gotta go 180.
180. Okay. Wait, I thought you said
That's all I need.
I thought you said that side went down.
But the winch is on that side.
Yeah, well, that ain't gonna make sense though.
So wait, come on.
We gotta have.
Now I'm looking at my steps and I'm like, okay, how's that thing gonna actually get on my steps? So I was out there looking at it and I'm like, oh, I'll just get a piece of plywood and I'll cut it out and I'll lay it down on the steps and we'll just slide that thing right down. And then I started to think about it, like when we were doing the mock frame, you know, you're gonna have people at the base of it. How many people can you fit? Well, 2 at most in my case. And then you're gonna have people at the top. So it's really, I need something so people can actually go up the steps and work their way down. So what I ended up doing in the picture is I took 2 2x6s I bought at the hardware store or lumber store, and I put some braces across them and screwed them in. And that was just to keep the boards from going, you know, this way or that way. It kind of butted up against the end. And so I had that in there and I laid it on the steps, and then I'm like, okay, as soon as that weight hits this thing, it's gonna wanna slide down into my basement because I had the ramp going clear to the floor. So then I started looking at ways to brace it up. So what I ended up doing is you'll see the bottom brace is a bigger board, and I ran that just on the outside of the door across. So when you put that in there, it's butted up against the brick wall. So that's all my weight bearing is going to go on there. So when that laser hits and it starts to try to push that wood, it's going to hold it there. So just something you want to consider. Maybe your door isn't set up that way, but just one thing I learned. I had all these ideas, but that's kind of where I ended up, and it worked out really well. And then lastly, what I did to protect it too from sliding is I had some old carpet laying around, just little pieces. So I cut them up and I stapled them with just a regular staple gun on, and I just took a rubber mallet, made sure they were down under the carpet. And I think that was huge too, because it just added that cushion. Even though I had the back protected and I put cardboard over all the plugs, it was worth, you know, doing that. Okay, so now we're at the point where we have a place to bring it over, we have a place to set it down, we have our planks to kind of stand it up on its side to get ready to go down. But then I'm thinking, okay, what is the safest way to get this thing down the steps. Now I know I have 2 people on the other side. I can't just let this thing go. So, you know, all of us around here have quads with winches. So I have my Polaris that I have a winch on it. So then I started to look at the actual equipment. Can I put some type of a rope or tow rope around it to kind of winch that down into the basement? So I'm gonna go ahead and show you kind of my process to figure out what was the best way. Okay, so you'll see in the video how I actually had the tow strap hooked onto it. And just note, it wasn't on this side. It was on the other side, but it's against the wall, so it's easier just to show you over here because it's the same on the other side. So my initial thought was, oh, I'll just throw something around this and, you know, lower it down. Then I started to take a look at it and try to get in here and show you. I looked behind it, and it's really, there's just 2 screws on the bottom and 2 screws on the top, and it's not joined together in any other way. So I'm like, that's a bad idea. So then I started to look back in here, and just looking at the strength of this wall here and what was over here, and you can't see behind it, but it's pretty much the same and has that angle there. I'm like, I think we can just throw a tow strap around here. And think about it, it's gonna be up on its side, so this is gonna be on the ground. And so basically I have a way to hook the tow strap to it, and then from there hook it to the winch. So this is where it really gets fun. I didn't want to edit the video. I kind of want you guys to see, you know, the whole process, you know, what it takes just to even push that machine back. So you can see we have like the winch hooked up. You can see the tow strap there. So at this point, it's just a matter of, you know, getting ready. I had a winch operator, and then I had, you know, 7 other guys, and then I had a supervisor walking around the whole time, our black lab. So you can see just how, even just pushing it on that carpet, how hard it is just to push it. It takes a lot of strength. And at this point, we're starting to tighten up the winch, you know, just to make sure everything is, you know, ready to go. And this is where it really gets hard. You really got to be careful at this point. So what you want to do is, you know, when you're pushing this back, you don't want to try and pick the end up at an angle. You want to try and get it like on a center balance. You know, that way, you know, it's going to be weights on both sides, you know, less damage on it. And then once you get it to that center point, you want to go ahead and, you know, start actually, you know, angling it down. And again, you can see, you know, we're using the weight of the winch, which is key to this. And like I said, I have alternatives. Not everybody has a winch, but I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But at this point, you know, it's really just a matter of, you know, we have 2 people in the basement, and what they're really doing is they're just guiding it from, you know, side to side, to make sure it's not, you know, gonna hit the walls or scratch it. And then again, as you can see, just a little bit at a time, just lower it down into the basement. And I'll grab another angle here for you in a second. So the wood on the ground there was key, you know, just having that carpet to slide it on. Again, no scratches. You can see I have a piece of carpet at the top of the steps with the boards laying on top of it. Just at all points, you just want to make sure that you have some type of padding there, you know, so you're not going to scratch the machine. Even though it's the back, it's, you know, a brand new piece of equipment. You're going to have it for many years. You don't want to get it all scratched up. So here we'll just take another quick look. You can kind of see the carpet, how it's balanced on there, and look at the space between the top of that laser and the door. I mean, it is tight. Like I said, you know, if I ordered the larger model, I would have never got that down in there. So at this point, we decided, you know, we're clear down. We're going to unstrap it. We did end up hooking the strap back to it, which you'll see upcoming once we started to lower it down in the basement. But again, things that you learn, you know, while you're doing it. So not everybody's going to have a winch. It's not really the winch, it's really how you're going to support that thing going down the steps. So, you know, if you don't have that, get yourself a really good rope or strap. Put a toe strap around where I showed you in the video, but get a rope and tie some loop hooks in there as part of the rope, and you're basically making handles. So, if you're gonna have 2 guys down below, maybe 4 or 5, make sure everybody has a way to grip that, and you're gonna have the same end result when you're lowering that thing down. You're keeping your people safe on the other side, and you have a good grasp on that.
Bill, can you get it on those rollers you have?
Yeah.
What rollers?
I have rollers.
So we're pushing it up, right?
I just say pull it.
Pull it back.
Pull it, because it's on the carpet.
Now it's tension. We can't pull it anymore. Should you let some more out?
Yeah, let a little bit more out.
It's tight. Keep it going.
You could probably just keep pulling it out the entire time.
Yeah, just let it keep going out.
Just in reviewing this part here, I would have flipped that carpet over instead of keeping it the way it is there, so it would have helped slide it better, but you learn as you go.
You put one under the back.
One of the other things I did was, and you may not need this, but I went to Harbor Freight. These were on sale when I bought them. I think they were $14 a piece. But I bought them. They have 100,000 pound or 1,000 pound weight limit on them. And we had these down here. It was nice because we were able to just, as that was coming down, we were able to just get these kind of under there. And it helped when we picked it up, and we just basically set it right up on there. Now you could get away with that if you have all your people in the basement and, as you're sliding, getting people in position. But this kind of helped with that because we were able to just have 2 or 3 people slide and put those under. And then we had just turned it to go to the next step. So a lot of the videos I watched, people would, unattach the base and then it would set it back down on there, which was great. But, when we were using this, it was laying on here like this. And I thought, why don't we just take the base and stand it up against it and sit it down right on here? So we ended up doing that because this kept it perfectly aligned. So we literally just stood it up on end and we screwed it in that way versus trying to get it situated on the base. So it was easier to push back and forth and get all the screws in. So just a tip, you may want to try that.
I got a rag in there.
Get this other side on.
I think they're Allen keys.
They're just Allen.
See? Right there. Perfect. Just don't move. Just don't move.
So once we had the base on, it was actually pretty easy at that point. We just took the guys and we just leaned it over onto the floor and we just rolled her on back here.
I was just as nervous doing this as I was getting off the truck.
Not really a mistake, but you'll see in the video, I have duct tape all over this thing. I put foam board on the glass. I duct taped the doors down. I did all the edges. I'm thinking about scratches. It's, a brand new piece of equipment. I don't want to scratch it on the way down. Put padding around the lights. But one thing I noticed, every time we went to pick this up, people by instinct were grabbing it right here. And we probably did that 3 or 4 times and, the duct tape just pulled up. So just pay attention, whoever's going to grab on this side, make sure you keep reminding them to grab the rail inside here and not grab on this. Wasn't a big deal. We just pushed the duct tape back down and it was fine, but just something to note. Just a couple other things that we had to do that you could do ahead of time or you could do after. Once we had it all in here, it was really getting a line run from the panel over for the 20 amp plug. So most of my friends are electricians. So the day after, we went ahead and ran a line across and got it down behind the machine, not a big deal. As far as the ductwork, I had a smaller laser in here before. That's actually a lot of the ductwork from that. I think I'm actually going to drill a hole through the wall and put a proper vent because behind that board there's a window, small window that, you know, it vents out through. It's probably worth it to take the time and break that brick out. But I have an 8-inch and I'm going into a 6-inch. I couldn't find any vents that are 8-inch that were of reasonable cost. But everything I've seen, people are using 6-inch, so I'm gonna try that out and see how it works. I have a reducer on there. Like I said, we get a lot of cold air, so I bought this on Amazon for the backdraft. So try that out. But you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to think about your ductwork. You could have that all prepped, you know, way ahead of time. But other than that, it was really just making sure I had my power, getting my ductwork in place, putting this all back together. And then, like I said, all of the guides on the website, you really want to go through all of those. I went through every one of them and I ended up only having one question, so it worked out really well. Unrelated to the move into the basement, but why Thunder? You know, I was looking at lasers and doing research, and I had a friend that had a Thunder, and I showed him some other ones I was looking at, and he's like, no. He's like, you want to go with this one. You really want to look into it, do your research. He said, you know, they have really good support, and he said that means a lot. So, you know, I did my research, and, you know, I did work with the sales team way prior to even purchasing it. And very personal people, very caring people. They were actually more concerned about my wife's breast cancer than they were about selling me a machine, to be honest with you. So kudos to them. And like I said, the whole purchasing process was great. I don't have any complaints. And like I said, my first issue, I emailed support, and, you know, being a software developer by day and working with different companies, sometimes support's like 1-2 days. It's like, I sent an email, I checked back in minutes, and I already had an answer with supporting videos and follow-ups. So again, totally new to it, haven't used it a lot. Well, folks, that was my adventure. I'm sure I missed some things, and, you know, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you. I mean, my goal here is really to help people, you know, with the same situation I had. I didn't find, like I said, a lot of good videos on it, so I figured I would take the time and do this because, you know what, I learned most of everything I've done by watching videos that other people have taken the time to do. So I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you have any better ideas. There was no instruction guide. Every situation is going to be different. But yeah, I'd love to see feedback on, you know, ways you've done it, things that you see that I may have done wrong that could be done better, because hopefully this isn't my last one. Hopefully in a year we have another one coming down the steps. So thank you.